Hello everyone and welcome back to Unity of Command. This is the campaign scenario Dneper / Donbas from the Soviet campaign of the main game. This is the final scenario chronologically, which is concurrent with the previous one, Orel / Bryansk, but we are playing this last because it's more to the south, as you know. That's the rule of thumb here. And this is by far the most difficult map we have seen so far. So let's see. February the 24th, 1943. Attempting the impossible once again, the Stavka continues its offensive across the Dneper, while at the same time completing the encirclement of German forces in the Donbas. Well, it's a fictitious scenario. Obviously, Gallop Star failed, as we know, so this is pure fiction. And already looking at the force allocation, you can see something really strange. The Soviet forces, so our forces, don't outnumber the Germans at all. So we practically equal them down to the step, basically the last step. And nobody receives any reinforcements in this on this map, and it's a really difficult one, as I've said. I'll explain everything in a moment. We get 2 partisan special actions and 2 logistics special actions. The logistics special action is not really a strategic asset. It's more like a gimmick that you have to use throughout the scenario. All right. Now, I tried this scenario. It's a huge one. I mean, the map is relatively big. I tried this scenario many times, and I mean more than 10 times before I finally won and figured it out. There are a few parts that are a bit counterintuitive, what you need to do, and you don't have any strategic freedom or operational freedom really to this map. So if you don't do in broad strokes at least what I've been doing, then you are not going to win this scenario. That's simple. Let's check our objectives. First we have Kremenchug in the northwest, an important bridgehead for future offensives. I guess it's supposed to say our future offensives. Then we have Dnepropetrovsk in the middle, literally in the middle of the map. Secure this foothold across the Dneper. And we have Melitopol in the south. Cut off enemy forces in the Donbas. Now all of these 3 objectives need to be taken by the end of turn 7. And you'd think that's not that bad. We have quite a lot of time. And the terrain is not that horrible either, so the only true obstacle here is the Dnieper River, but that is actually going to be of relatively little concern. It's a bit difficult to capture these 2 victory hexes, but that's as I've said, that's not really the crux of this battle. The problem, and there are several of them, one of the problems is weather. Weather is already bad, so the Rasputitsa is in, and it will be constantly bad, especially in the south. The bad weather is slowly crawling towards the northeast. There is no way for you to escape it. It will come 100% of the time. You might get lucky a bit by some hexes not turning into mud, and that can, help in some situations, but there is no way to avoid bad weather on this scenario, as you can see. It's going to stay with us all throughout the 7 turns, so it's really horrible. The other issue is supply. It's not truly an issue in the sense that you know what you have to do. We have 2 supply sources, one in the southeast supplying the current front line just west of Rostov on the Mius River, and one on the northeast which has a range of 16, and that's the one you need to upgrade literally every turn. There is no option given here. If you don't do that, neither of your battle groups are going to be able to advance. So use both of your actions on this one. There is no alternative. Don't waste anything on the southeastern one. Alright, and now let's talk about the map and why it is horrible. First of all, you might not see it at first glance, but actually the map is clearly divided into 2, and this is the map, the first map where the two front sectors have zero connection whatsoever. The only theoretical connection we have is this supply line. Oh, and by the way, we didn't talk about the German supply line, but that is important. The Germans have two supply sources on both ends where the supply line enters the map. So of course ours is off-road, but the Germans have their own road supply, which is awesome. And this is the southern one is going to play a crucial role if you want to win. The northern one is not that important. Basically, what you can say is that anything east of the Dnieper has to be cut off, and anything west of it is well, as you see fit, but that's not like a crucial objective. All right, so back to where I was. So you might not see it at first glance, or it might not be that apparent, but we actually have two completely separate front sectors. In this line, so between the Dnepropetrovsk, Izium or Kupiansk line, everything southeast belongs to one battle group, and everything northwest belongs to another one. For both sides, so both for the Germans and for us, we are not going to send any units onto the other front sector. I think the Germans send like one unit across, which will then die, but that's basically it. And you need to win on both fronts separately, and especially in the southern one, it's very tricky. The solution is extremely stupid, and yeah, and there is only one strategy that will work, and even that you have to be lucky. So I really hate this scenario. It's very tough. It's extremely difficult. You need to get lucky, and as I've said, you don't feel like you're winning an epic strategic battle. Instead, you're just you're just doing what the scenario designer intended for you to do. So let's start with the northern one, because it's the less horrible one. I hesitate to call it easier, but at least it's less difficult. And I'd say that once you figure it out, you will practically guaranteed to kind of win here all the time, at least up until the northwestern victory hex. So with my strategy, you can definitely capture this one in time, and hopefully the Dnepropetrovsk as well. That can be a bit tricky. Alright, so let's see what we have here. We have a few units. We have actually our best unit, or best or second best unit here on the map, which is a veteran tank division with 6+1 steps, and a Katyusha is attached to it. And it's already running out of supply, and actually it's going to run out of supply for another turn, which is inevitable if you want to win. We also have a few other tank divisions. They are relatively weak, so only 4 and 5 steps each. Some of them are veteran, which is great. We have quite a few infantry units that are also veteran, and one T-34 special step. That's basically it. Against us stand a thin defensive line of German infantry divisions, but these ones are in forests, so don't underestimate them and don't assault them head on. And more importantly, we have our old friends, the 4 Panzergrenadier divisions. Now we know them very well, but let's recite them again. This is the 1st SS Division Leibstandarte. This is the 2nd SS Division Das Reich. And this is the 3rd SS Division Totenkopf. And as an added bonus, we have the Großdeutschland Heer Panzergrenadier Division. All of these are elite. Nothing you have all over the map is any match to them. And basically, in full strength, they can wash you off. This unit only has 4 steps, but it has a 5th Tiger attached to it. This one has a Stuk 3 attached to its 5 steps. So these units are extremely potent and will just melt you away. So what I tried to do for a lot of times, because these units, 3 of them at least, are at least partially depleted. So what I kept trying is to cut them off. And you won't be able to do that on the long run. You might succeed in turn 1, you still need to be lucky to do that, but they will counterattack on the next turn. At least one of them will slip through the gaps, and all the while they will cause you huge casualties. And even if you win with that strategy by starving them out of supply, you will have lost so many units and so much time that you will be guaranteed to, well, to not succeed south of the Dnieper, which is your actual objective, right? So what you need to do is you need to destroy these 2 units on the first turn. This is actually relatively easy. They are sufficiently weakened so that frontal assault with your best units will at the very least knock them down so that they run out of supply, so you get suppressed or kill the active steps slowly but surely, and then you can remove them off the map. You need to do that, and you also need to cut off the final unit. That itself alone will not cause too many casualties. Obviously it will attack once, and you need to keep this one securely and firmly cut off, so sealed away, and then obviously when it's depleted you can remove it. We will use our infantry to do that. And that's the key here. Once that is done, you can use your tank units to one by one eliminate the infantry resistance. The AI will push these units, also these infantry divisions, across the river, and then you can remove them as well, and eventually you can just cross the river and capture the victory hex. Now, this is not going to be sufficient for the Dnepropetrovsk, where there is a flak. So it's there is a unit here with 6 steps and an anti-air artillery, so Flugabwehrkanone specialist step, which gives it a lot of defense points, plus 2 armored shifts against armored targets. So what that means is that this unit is extremely strong. You need to starve out, and I recommend you try to do that as soon as possible so that it's totally starved out by the end, by turn 7. Right. Now, as I've said, the only way the two front lines are connected is at Zaporozhye, where the two supply routes meet. But it's relatively simple to keep. It's easy to keep Zaporozhye in our hands, and that's one of your kind of like sub-objectives. You need to do that. If you lose Zaporozhye, you can very easily lose the game. Let's see the other front sector. Interestingly, the AI is already out of supply because the supply has a range of 8, and it definitely doesn't reach until the front lines. These 2 tank units are in supply, but most everything else is already out. Now, we are also quite weak here. We have 2 great units, this Guards mechanized Soviet mechanized Guards tank division. It's half depleted currently, but once back to full strength, it has 7 steps, and it's an excellent unit. This is the best stat-wise, it is the best unit we have. We also have an elite tank division, Group Popov, which is of course also excellent, so you can use it to decimate at least weaker enemy forces. The other 2 tank divisions are quite weak. Don't disband them, so don't reorganize them. You need their maneuverability, so you need more. It's better to have weaker units separately than a few stronger units. They're not going to be that strong anyway, so I tried to reorganize this unit, but that's not a good idea. Don't do that. Other than that, our units are pretty pathetic. A lot of them are half depleted, and some of the Germans as well, by the way. And we only have like literally one specialist step, this infantry gun. That's it. There is this Mayas river here, so obviously we cannot force a crossing, and against us there are quite a few formidable units. These 2 tank divisions are not really strong, but they have a Gruppe Balk, which is a veteran tank division with 5 steps, a whole lot of Stugs here in this I don't know what this is, Panzerkorps or whatever it is, a flak here, another flak here, and of course the Viking SS motorized division. And do not underestimate this unit. It only has 3 steps, but it's elite, and it has a Tiger attachment. It's better than any of your units here, any of your non-tank units here. It's definitely far superior to anything you have here. Fortunately, they have some weak units as well. They have these Luftwaffe divisions, which are green, so they are actually not that dangerous. And of course, the Gruppe Spang, which is a Romanian infantry unit, is also of no consequence. So, if you're here because you're struggling with this map, I feel you, I understand you, and I'm here to show you how you can win this battle with some luck. So the first thing you need to do, or at least I highly recommend you do, actually you need to do it if you want to win, is to send this tank. Yes, it's already a bit depleted and out of supply for 1 turn. You need to send it specifically to this hex and attack the Romanian infantry holding the cavalry corps, holding the victory hex of Melitopol. It actually might even destroy it. That doesn't really matter how much casualties you cause, but the strategy is this. we need to draw these units away from these Gebirgsjäger units and Jäger units away from the supply source, which is this unit is literally sitting on that hex. And you need to propel this cavalry corps unit. It's once again cavalry is going to be the key to our victory here, to Zaporozhye. This is half depleted. It will literally never get back to full supply, but you need to get it to sit on the supply hex and to cut off the German units here. That is the key to victory. In the north, we are going to win in a fair battle head-on, but in the southeast, we have to starve them out. So first of all, by sending this tank here, you will have cut off the 2 panzer divisions as well, which is great. And you will have to start propelling the cavalry corps to the southwest. Now, if you have tried this strategy, then you will have realized that the enemy will block it, attack it, and destroy it. That's right. So what you need to do on turn 2 is you need to start an assault with these 3 tank units. You need to feint an assault against the victory hex so that the AI bunches up in front of it, and will prioritize these units so that the cavalry can slip away in the back behind this river bend and capture the supply hex this way. That is the key to this victory. You cannot win otherwise. You cannot win any kind of like strategic battle. If you don't starve them out, you are going to lose and not capture this victory X in time. The bad weather will catch up with you, your supply will drag behind, and you will simply be too weakened to fight. And on the Eastern Front, it's also really interesting because the AI will always attempt to hold the line until almost the last breath, and it will actually try to counterattack and capture our supply source. And you have to get a bit lucky to stop this. Always have 1 unit sitting on the supply source, because the AI might very well succeed in pushing through. And fortunately, the bridge is held by the best infantry unit we have, the one with the gun, with the infantry gun. Still, the AI might manage very easily. So you need to hold the line. What I highly recommend is that you bring your guards tank corps to the front. You try to bring it here as far as you can to the northwest, and from turn 2 onwards you can use it in assaulting and mowing down some of the units here. You will have a very precarious supply situation, so you will always have to make difficult decisions on when to pull back units into supply and how far, because the bad weather might affect, it might change the circumstances every turn, and when you need to push forwards. So let's see how I did it after like the 10th time. So as I said, this is the first step. This is self-explanatory. It doesn't matter what results you get. And this is the second step. You absolutely must do this. And this is also mandatory. If you're a bit lucky, you can destroy at least one of these tank divisions. I got pretty unlucky and didn't succeed. You need to get these tanks here, because if you take the longer route, they won't arrive in time. And next turn, they absolutely must assault, quote unquote, assault the victory hex. All right. Now we're just trying to block the enemy from retreating, and I'm also trying to move this tank corps forwards. And that was it. That's all we are doing in the southeast. Anything else would be quite suicidal. We don't outnumber them at all, and they are, simply speaking, there. I would say they are the combined firepower or stats allocated is like at least double to that of ours. So if you look at the attack and defense values, then I would say they have at least twice as many, if not 3 times as many as we do. So any kind of open warfare is just going to be suicide. We raised the supply range twice as usual. And now it's time to turn to the north, and this is exactly what you must do here. So first assault this the Das Reich with this tank, and once it's out of supply, you can destroy it. I was quite lucky that it only took 2 units for me to destroy it. If you don't succeed, you can use this unit to block off the zone of control of this unit here, and then this infantry can march here and help attacking. At the very least, you should be able to wear it down to 1 step, and then it's no longer any threat at all, so that's also acceptable. Alright, here you need to break down along the supply route. Not that it matters, our supply is off-road and the Germans are well supplied anyway, but that's the best avenue of attack. So push through, and you must destroy the Großdeutschland division on turn 1. This is also absolutely crucial, and that was a great battle. We lost 1 tank step, and now this unit is destroyed. We send the cavalry ahead, and yeah, it will finish the job. Now all we need to do is to keep the Leibstandarte occupied, and yeah, this battle was a bit bloody, but at least we won. So we need to surround it, and we need to hold it. Don't be afraid to pull back here. These infantry units won't mount an assault. They won't reach our supply, and so they won't be able to cut us off anyway. Sorry, and so it's all good. And that was it. That was it for turn 1. This is an excellent result, and you can reliably count on achieving this. I leave this unit here so that the Totenkopf doesn't race ahead and then cause even more problems. So it's kind of there to block the path of the last remaining freely moving and in supply SS division. Their best unit on the whole battlefield, probably, from just, you know, getting wherever it wants to go. Obviously it can still destroy any one of our units, but at the very least I don't give it so much freedom of movement. This is excellent. You can almost always achieve this on turn 1, so try to get something along these lines. And the south we're also looking okay. Now I'm using the partisan actions. I actually want to do this so that I can connect these better and to make their supply a bit more crooked. It's not that great, but you cannot really use the partisans that well in this scenario. If you try to use them too early here to try to cut them off, then these infantry units will clear them out, and later on they will be of no consequence. So it's actually, once again, the partisans are not that useful in this scenario. Now the AI reconnects, and of course it assaults, because of course it does, but now it realized the problem, and it's trying to pick up a cohesive front line. That is okay-ish for us. So we don't care about these weak infantry units, or even the stronger ones. If we clear out all the Panzer Grenadiers without huge losses, then that's a great achievement, and then we can just plow through them. Then we severely outnumber and outgun them, so then we are poised to win. Here in the south the situation is a bit more dicey. We were cut off. This is absolutely inevitable. The AI will do it all the time, and this is also absolutely inevitable, unfortunately, as well as this. But that was not a bad battle. If we can keep cutting off this unit from supply, then what this means is that we traded 2 infantry steps for 1 suppressed step, which is like a real step. If we keep cutting it off, then it will never regain that one, and that's actually worthwhile. The Leibstandarte also attacks as expected, but that one is devastating, but it was its last attack. It won't ever be able to attack or move again, because we're going to completely surround it, and it simply won't be able to do anything until it's starved out totally, and then we can remove it off the map. Now the AI starts some more attacks in the southeast. Some of them go well for it, and some of them less successfully. So yeah, it's just dice rolls or luck rolls, I guess. Any trade we do one-on-one is acceptable. Anything better like this is of course great. So yeah. And here is what I was talking about. The AI will bunch up in front or next to the victory hex, and we must keep up with this pressure. It's absolutely mandatory that we do that, so that the cavalry unit can slip away. The Viking also captured the Viking SS divisions captures this side of the river, so our supply line is blocked here. Unfortunately it's going to remain blocked for quite a long time. We simply cannot allocate units there, but you can recreate the supply connection coming from the northeast, so that's not a huge problem. And some of its units try to retreat, some of them stand firm and try to keep the front. So yeah, and this one unit dug in as well. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's becoming stronger than ever. So turn 2, our situation looks horrible. Some of our best unit literally cannot attack. All our good units are basically cut off from supply. The only positive thing is that this front line is crumbling, but this is what victory looks like, believe it or not, because we need to move up against and take care of the units this way. So let's see what happens. First of all, we know the automated step. We need to move the cavalry as close to the supply X as possible. Fortunately, the Rasputitsa only partially hit here, so we could advance pretty well. And we also got lucky. We could pull this unit back. It's obviously it's not in supply, but in a lot of times this unit gets surrounded far too much so that it cannot escape, and then it will be destroyed. This way it can run away, and we use the partisans to cut off the Axis forces, which is also great. Now we have a bit of time. We don't need to use these units to attack in the front. We just need to pressure. So I was hedging my bets a bit, and I was thinking hopefully these two units present here will prompt the AI to respond to them, even though they won't be able to attack the next turn. But the AI doesn't think along these terms, and so they won't destroy it won't destroy the cavalry unit, and then it can finish its mission. And it worked out, but it was a bit dicey. On second thought, I should have allocated this unit as well. The idea was to remove the SS. And this unit is going to hold Zaporozhye, which is a good idea. We don't want them reconnecting from this point, so holding it at the bridge is actually holding the supply route at the bridge is a good idea. All right, now that we have acted with the tanks, let's proceed. Let's see what's happening in the north. First of all, we cut off the most dangerous enemy unit on the battlefield. This is the Totenkopf. It's still going to be able to act. It's still quite strong with its Tiger attachment, but you know, what can you do? And we are raising our supply range to 20, so that it reaches quite well. Actually, it reaches up until this point, and if we could clear out more of the area around here, which we won't for a while, but if we could, then it would be even better. Anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to start removing some of the infantry units with our tanks, but it's not that important, to be honest. We don't need to advance very far. We just want to make favorable trades. We need to wait until the infantry catches up, and that's going to take a while. We need to box in the Leibstandarte completely. This is no longer a threat. It won't attack the next turn, but we don't want it to move either, or eventually get back to potentially get back to supply. So we are going to box it in and start reorganizing the weak units, which is normally a good idea, but then I realized that I need separate units, so I'm actually not going to reorganize it, but use it in to box in this one as well. Yeah, like this. Later on we can reorganize it, and of course, as I've said, make favorable trades. This was not a favorable trade, but that was not what the prediction was. So anyway, slowly we are plowing through the AI's units. And yeah, and that unit is also in supply. We're securing it, and that was horrible. We could have attacked again, but then we wouldn't have had. Well, maybe we could have had all the units. That was probably a mistake. So anyway, this is still acceptable. These units are quite weak. Of course, the ones with the 6 steps are something to count with, but you know, they are not going to stop this force for sure. The Totenkopf, if we are playing our cards well, has one further attack in it. This the Leibstandarte can no longer attack, so we're good. Let's go to the south. This unit, I thought it was the weakest, so I decided to destroy it, but it caused the grievous casualties, so that was a bad idea. Don't do that. That didn't turn out as expected. We propel our unit, our best unit here forward, which is the Guards tank division. It's still not fully supplied, by the way. Back to full supply. In the next turn we can start attacking with it, and it's standard, and I want to gather experience with it, so we are going to mow down some weak units with it at first, so that it levels up sooner. It needs to get 10 KIA. Alright, turn 2 for the AI. None of these units here in this pocket can attack, including the Viking SS division. The situation is very bleak for it. We actually don't have enough units to plow through them, even in the next turn, even in the turn afterwards probably. So this is going to stay here for a while, but we are no longer in any danger. So that's it, basically. In the north, the situation is stable. We still need to worry about the Totenkopf. The AI cannot do much, to be honest. Their only real asset is in the south and in the extreme northwest, I would say. So here it's building up a cohesive front line. And just as I wanted, in the south, it's actually... so in the north, it's building up a cohesive front line, just as can be expected from the AI. That's fine. In the south, it's moved out against our tanks, which is precisely what we wanted it to do. So we're good that way. And it actually moves with two of its units against the cavalry, but this unit force marched, so it cannot attack, and it cannot attack, and I'm 100% sure we will survive one attack by this Gebirgsjäger unit. Yep, the Totenkopf got back to supply, and there is a bridge here, so at this very moment the supply reaches up until here, so the Viking is also in supply. We cannot let that roll, so we need to cut them off somehow. It attacks our unit, obviously that's easy prey for it, but fortunately it survives, and the next turn we can come here. We can apply, we can use the two partisan special actions here, and thereby the supply won't reach up until the SS units. That's the plan here. In the south they attack our cavalry, which is only to be expected, but we actually kind of repel them, so that was okay. And now it's turn 3 for us. These tank units cannot attack, so the situation is not great here. We definitely need to retreat. Here obviously the situation is stable. We cannot advance much, but we are not in danger either. And in the north everything looks okay-ish. These two units cannot attack, but you know, if we can keep the SS out of supply, then we'll be fine. Alright, so let's capture the supply source. That was a crucial move, and let's raise our supply by 2 units. This was a crucial move. We are sitting on the supply X and nothing can get here. I mean, these 2 units cannot get here because of the bad weather. I don't think, at least. Maybe it could march here because this one hex is not under storm. But they're not going to attack us for some reason. The tank unit probably could, but it wouldn't be able to wipe out this whole unit with its one measly step. So if we can hold this supply source then and Zaporizhia, then we basically have won, and that's great. Alright, let's remove some of the depleted units from the map. That's not a heroic deed. And this unit actually is on the other side of the river, and even though it's totally depleted, it still fights back. This was a misclick, by the way. But we finally remove it, and we cross the river here. Obviously, we are not in any danger of you know, being cut off or attacked or whatever. These units can move, but they cannot attack. So the weakest unit will not get weaker. That's for sure during the enemy's turn. And now we cross the Dneper for the first time, and we use the partisans to widen the breakthrough. And at this moment, the AI supply runs like this. It starts with 8, so 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So the Dnepropetrovsk is barely in supply, but the SS units are not, and that's absolutely great. And we know that they're cut off, so we don't need to worry about them. Now let's keep on assaulting the infantry units as usual. One destroyed. We are not in any particular rush, but we should hurry a bit so that we reach the victory axis in time. Alright. Some reinforcements are arriving, pouring in as well from the reorganized units. The Leibstandarte is doomed. The next turn it will be fully out of supply. All its steps will be suppressed, and then we can just remove it off the map. So will the Viking. It can still move away, kind of to safety, but it will be totally depleted. That's guaranteed, and none of these units will attack, so we are perfectly safe. This unit cannot be attacked by anything because the AI never moves out of the victory hexes, and no other unit in the vicinity can attack. These units are far too far. Alright. Now what I was talking, let's switch to the east, and what I was talking about, let's try to accumulate experience for this unit, and 5 kills is great, so that's excellent. We are just moving around. As I said, we need to kind of block, but we don't need to fight, and we don't need to be afraid either. We come back here, the supply reaches here, as long as we can keep everything in supply, you know, the supply route open, and then we are okay, and the tanks are going to be resupplied, so that's great. And now we hand over the control to the AI. Now it's turn 3 for the AI. As you can see, all of these units are totally fully depleted, so we will start removing them on turn 4. They won't present any threat or extremely limited resistance. Here in the south, we need to survive this one turn with us sitting in the supply, and then they're okay. This turn actually the AI is going to recapture Zaporozhye, but that's fine. We have cut off the supply source here. If you recall, it reached barely until the Dnieper, or roughly until the Dnieper. Definitely, it won't reach the southern this southern pocket here. So if we survive, if this unit survives here for one further turn, then this whole thing will crumble and collapse. All right. I don't know why this tank moved here, but whatever. It's not like it could do much else. And yeah, this, I know this might have looked very impressive, but it actually achieved absolutely nothing. In fact, the only thing it achieved is that this unit moved out of supply. It was still in supply here, and it was kind of blocking our the bridge. So it was having it was a good guard unit. But now it moved out into the middle of nowhere, and it will also start to run dry. And even if it doesn't, these tank units can surely wipe off the map, so that's not a problem. Yeah, we are not afraid of these units. And the SS moved forward for some reason. No supply can come here, so that's fine. A bit more reshuffling, and it's our turn 4. As you can see, in the south, everything looks awesome. We will start to push. Now, we still haven't won yet, because time is of the essence. We need to capture this Victory X by the end of turn 7. And the bad weather can cause problems, both for movements as well as supply. But the enemy units themselves won't be of any problem, so won't cause us any trouble. The only opposition we have is the weather here in the south, at least, and in the west as well. I mean, these units are not very scary. Let's raise our supply as usual, right? And with this move we have moved just 3 hexes to the west, and we cut off their supply from here. And due to the Rasputitsa, already the Dnepropetrovsk is going to be out of supply from this turn onward, which is great. We need to starve out this unit. It has 6+1 flak steps and trenched. You cannot destroy it in a frontal assault. This is a very, very powerful unit this way, but of course once it's depleted, then it's nothing. The only 5 units that the AI has are these 5 that are in supply. So these are the only. This is the only little army group that can get resupplied. Now we are going to remove the SS units so that the infantry can advance. As you see, they don't present any resistance. They don't offer any resistance. Yeah, it's not. We don't immediately destroy them, but they don't cause us any harm. And now we box in the Totenkopf. Once again, we don't want it to have freedom of movement, and we want to destroy as many of the infantry units as possible. That one also resisted quite powerfully, but that was its last move. We cut these units off. It's not really like an important move, but it spooks the AI, so that's what I was aiming for. However, that was not at all important. We are going to actually remove most of the units off the map. We use the best tank unit to decimate the best AI controlled unit as well. And at this moment, only one straggler infantry division remains. That one won't be in supply either, if I remember correctly. But in any case, that's just one unit. We definitely can handle that. And we will also be able to handle this in a kind of frontal assault. We'll cross the river here, and we will destroy it. It's in a clear hex. I know it's behind the river, and it has 6 steps, but we'll take care of that. It's not entrenched, so this is not nothing dangerous. I use the partisan actions here to try to block the supply coming from the west. This is kind of pointless. The only unit that is in supply currently is this one, and so we won't wait until it runs dry, and everything else is already out of supply. So, but I couldn't use my partisan actions better. Here I couldn't apply them, so you cannot apply them on river hexes or supply route hexes. So that was the best idea I came up with. Now we assault again, and with 5 more KI, this unit has turned veteran, which is awesome. And yeah, as you can see, we are mowing through them. This unit was sitting in a clear hex, and we destroyed that tank division as well. So because of course the bad weather confers a lot of defensive bonuses to the defending units, so this unit is actually far stronger than it looks. Now let's try. Now it's time to clean up the eastern front. The weather is good there. The AI is totally out of supply, so everything is depleted. So we can just bully it, and bully it we will. We'll try to be as effective as possible. We actually use this unit, but that's okay. We still need to pay attention to keep our supply intact, at least the bridge. If they are captured, it's not a big loss. We have another bridge here at Izium, but you know, maybe some supply here the route is shorter, so it's more direct. Obviously, nothing can attack. Nothing is any threat. They can barely defend themselves. And we have just cleared out the other side of the bridge and that unit as well. And at this moment, once this unit is dead, everything else from the everything east of the Mayas River is done with. Is done for. It's destroyed. Now with this one as well, it was to the north of it. So actually, the AI had so many units here that we couldn't remove all of them. As you can see, we simply didn't have enough units left to destroy all these stragglers. They are doomed. There is nothing they can do. All of these units will eventually evaporate. All right. Let's hand control over to the AI. Turn 4 for the AI. It's going to be a very short turn. This is literally the only. These two are the only units that can attack. Theoretically, this one could too, but there is nothing in range. Nothing else can attack. So obviously the AI can move, but that's not dangerous. It's cutting off our tank unit from supply. That was pointless. All of these moves were quite pointless. Now on our turn 5, let's remove the enemy units here. And let's finally reconnect everything from the east. Unfortunately, the bad weather has hit really strongly. So because it's hit around here, the supply is actually not that great. We are still going to raise our supply. We haven't done that this turn. So it's going to reach until roughly until Zaporozhye. But if the weather keeps getting worse, and it will, then it will be barely offset by our upgrades. So that's something. Now we can reorganize units, and you know, yeah, we are raising the supply. Nothing is really of any importance. These units won't be able to attack the next turn, and we cut the supply off. And I think that this unit would be cut off at this moment. 8, 7, 5, 3, 2, 1. Yes, it would barely be cut off, but we are not going to wait for that. We are actually going to assault this hex and take it. We're sending our best unit to attack across the river. It was quite pathetic, but whatever. Another unit. That's okay. If we lose one tank step in exchange for the breakthrough here, that is totally acceptable, and seems like that's the case. Right. Okay. The victory hex is captured on turn 5, so 2 turns ahead of schedule. And most importantly, we are 100% certain that everything is cut off. And now we need to, from the next turn onward, we need to rush here and besiege this, so that we can besiege the Dnepropetrovsk on turn 7. Alright? Yeah, some more reorganizations and some movement later. Now we turn to the south. This unit was still in full supply, and we use it to overrun more units. That's great. And to advance. Now we actually remove the unit from the victory axe, the Romanian unit holding it. And we don't have anything that can move in. These units still have 1 movement point left, but if you want to move in the mod, you need at least 2 movement points per hex, so we cannot capture it. Funnily enough, the AI can only move this 1 unit into the victory hex, and it will move it there, so this totally depleted Panzer division with 1 step is going to be protecting the victory hex. Now this is of course a very laughable unit, but we need to attack it with something to destroy it, and we are going to be able to do that with this one, with the guards tank division. So everything is fine and dandy here. Let's remove that final unit and let's advance. I withdraw into supply, retreat into the supply, but actually this unit I think is going to be fully out of supply because the bad weather is going to be extended here. We are removing obviously all the stragglers. This is nothing heroic, to be honest. These units are extremely weak. That one was even green, so it's not like these units can offer any resistance, and they don't. Alright, so at this moment the AI literally has 4 units, and from the next turn onward none of them can attack. They won't receive any reinforcements, so basically we have 1. I reorganize units in the east because at the end of a turn I always cycle through units that can still move, and I don't want to do anything with them, and they're just annoying, and it's a waste of time to do that. So yeah, the stronger ones I retain, and I will move them, but I don't want to bother with all those remnants, those stragglers. And now it's turn 5 for the AI. These units are worthless, and as I predicted, the tank moved in. Alright, turn 6, well, I think I raised the supply range to 28 actually, so that's something. It actually reaches, despite the bad weather, quite far forward, so that's something. Now let's remove one of the only 2 units that can offer resistance. It doesn't, I mean it doesn't get destroyed easily, but it doesn't destroy any of our units as well. And now we are already rushing ahead so that we can reach the city of Dneper the next turn. That's kind of important. And we are getting ready to assault it from all angles. We need to capture it the next turn, so we don't care about losses. More importantly, even if you know, first we're gonna assault it from the west, and once it's down to the entrenchment is gone, and maybe the steps are suppressed, even attacking across the river is not that horrible. So we need to throw everything at it and destroy it if we have to. Now in the south, we don't need to worry about this unit, that's for sure. And at this moment we have won. Actually the elite tank can roll in because there was one hex of clear ground here. That's great. Now I'm just clearing out the greenish blue or whatever, and there is nowhere else I could use the partisans, so I'm just having a bit of fun. Alright, reinforcements time. We have a lot of steps coming in from the reorganizations, and the AI couldn't do anything on its turn. It could have theoretically moved this unit, which represents half of its force, one of two infantry divisions, but it didn't. And this unit is now, both units are totally depleted, so this unit wouldn't move out of the victory axe. Now it's turn 7. We actually captured this very difficult victory axe on turn 6. Now it's turn 7. Let's remove this infantry division. Bang. And it fell after the first attack, so that's great. That means that we have absolutely won. Any of these units can move in. Yeah, even this one. So literally any of these units can move in. So let's destroy the final remaining unit the AI has. That's also not a challenge at all. And you know, let's clear out some of the AI controlled territory because that's fun. That's it. And yeah, we are raising the supply source just for fun, and we captured the city X. Alright, so this is how you win a clean victory on Dneper/Donbas. As I've said, you need to win on both fronts. Getting this cavalry unit here is the key, so feint an attack on turn 2 and move it into position. This will happen, you will succeed in most of the times. The weather can work in your advantage or block you from getting there, so it goes both ways. So you need some luck here, definitely, and you can get some crucial losses. You can get huge losses to your tank force, actually, if you get unlucky and if the AI moves that way. In the north, the situation is more reliable, so the strategy is more reliable, rather. Follow my lead, destroy the 2 half-depleted Panzergrenadier divisions on turn 1 and cut off the Leibstandarte. You need to get a bit lucky with the Totenkopf, but that's, in my experience, that's also not very difficult. So you can keep cutting it off, and then eventually it will run out of steam and you can just wash it off the map. Be always mindful of your supply as usual. This time it's really bad. It's barely, you have to move always on the edge of your supply, so it's barely reaching you in time. And use your tank divisions to mop up the infantry, and then you can just cross like I did. So those are the 2 key factors here. So in the north you need to win a kind of a fair battle, and in the east, southeast, you have to starve them out. And yeah, then you can remove everything off the map. That was the last scenario of the main game. as if I've said it was a fictitious scenario. In reality, there was a lull in the fighting due to the bad weather and force build-up between the mid-March or early March and the beginning of July. So when we come back with the DLC, we have actually skipped a few months, and yeah, and things are going to be quite different with then. So I hope this helps if you're struggling with this map. I thank you all for watching, and I hope you'll join me for the remaining scenarios as well. Bye bye.